strategic plan. It's really more about how staff are engaged in all of this. We realized with the plan in place and trying to engage the community and be responsive to the community that we had to do some cultural change. We had to, essentially we were a fairly rules-based organization, if you know what that means. We're looking at the kinds of things where we're constantly saying, well, you can only check out so many books, you can only have so many holds on books and all of that. So we created these quality councils, and we created, one quality council was a customer service one, another was a circulation quality council. The circulation group looked at these rules and procedures and thought, well, what can we do to change this? So for example, we knew that a lot of, especially the poorest people in our community, could not take advantage of the library because they had racked up lots of fines over time. So our neighbor, Wake County, had developed a lot of this type of culture that we were aiming toward already. One of the things they did is to have a maximum amount that anyone would have to pay at all. So you wipe down all the fines down to $10. Well, I was able to get our board to implement that concept, and we now will wipe away fines down to $25. We increase the number of items that can be checked out and all of that kind of thing. But at any rate, we also adapted the customer service training model that Columbus, Ohio had created in the early 90s. And our staff were the ones, our frontline staff were the ones creating this training module for us. We made sure all staff were trained. We had three times over the course of 14 months that every single staff member got trained on this. So let me move through to just mention, this is kind of an outline of the rest of this, and I'm going to move really quickly through this, but the idea is empowering our staff, staying informed, how do we keep people understanding what the messages are that we want to get out, and so on. And empowering staff, we created all these quality councils that you can see listed here. These are the 4 goals: the customer service goal, children and teens, and information technology. We consider ourselves the leader on information technology resources in our community. And then the local culture with support goals on facilities, collections, and staff. Our staff and HR, that's kind of the key major support goal that we have. You can't quite read this easily, but it's a variety of councils that meet on a fairly regular basis or as needed to address a variety of kinds of issues. The open door policy essentially, that essentially means that I'm constantly trying to get information from people. I encourage people to get information to me or these groups. We have some groups of all the public service managers, but we try to make sure that there's a lot of communication happening, and that's kind of a culture change in some ways. Donuts with the director, I'll just talk about. At a certain point, about a year ago, the group that report directly to me, with whom I meet every week, said, you know, we're hearing a lot of things, and you really need to hear some things from the staff. There's a lot of change going on, and we really need to make sure that you start hearing these things. So we created these meetings at all of our locations over the course of about 6 or 8 weeks, where I went out and they pretty much admonished me to go and listen. And that was the whole thing I did, just to hear what people were saying. My assistant took copious notes, and so we made sure that I was hearing all the things that were of concern to everybody on the front lines, because, for example, increasing the number of holds meant a lot more work that a lot of people were having to figure out. We had to figure out better ways to do that. But the Donuts with the Director was a series of things that really worked pretty well. Keeping people informed, we have a variety of ways of doing this. This Grapevine is an internal staff newsletter. We put that out about quarterly. The one we got last week had about 20 pages, and so we have people throughout. Every location is featured with the Grapevine newsletter. We have the staff web, which has a variety of pages. We have an In Our Words page and all of this kind of thing, so people are constantly getting information through that. There's a lot of ongoing training as well. I wanted to mention that it's important that we frame the message, and I think that Camilla alluded to that somewhat, but we give our staff talking points when there's issues that are kind of tricky. Like, for example, we wanted to get the data on what language people speak at home, and so a prompt came up for about 6 months or so on the computer as you were checking out, and we gave people first of all, we gave them talking points at their desk because people might say, why is it that you want to know what language I speak at home? So I have a copy of that. It's, some customers may wonder why we're asking for this information. Here's why. The library is gathering data in an effort to make sure we're reaching all members of our community. Keep in mind that's a talking point. We want them to convey this in their own words. And also, we'll use the data to help ensure that our collection, our programs, and services meet our customers' needs. And so we wanted our staff to really have that kind of thing. We do these talking points fairly regularly. We just, the last couple of months, we no longer send letters to people at their home. We're starting only email and telephone, and so we have talking points. We have these signs that are put out at all the public service desks stating that you're going to have to give us your email or telephone. Now, we'll make exceptions, of course, which is a key part of our customer service orientation, but that gives that idea. I'm going to kind of skip through some of these slides, but we do put things out on Facebook. We have several blogs. I have one called Durham by the Book that I do, but I'm not very good at blogging, so we're starting to get more people to do guest blogs on that site. And then we have personal blogs that are done by other staff members as well that are linked from our site. And frankly, we've found that to be really a positive thing. One of our staff members, Jennifer Lohman, created, she's done some blogging, but we also encourage our staff to comment on other blogs. So she's done a lot with some of the romance blogs and things like that. And I wanted to just say, this is sort of how I started, that we kind of, in learning more about frontline advocacy myself and realizing, well, this is kind of what we're doing, it's sort of advocacy by any other name, and we maybe weren't calling it that. And that's, I think, something important to all of you to realize, well, you may be doing some of it, you may not be calling it that, but it's important to recognize it, and then we can, as a profession, it's really a lot more than just 67,000 people we're talking about. If we count all of the people who work in our libraries, we're probably talking several 100,000 people who can be, when they meet their friends at the grocery store, or they're at dinner parties, whatever, and even talking to the clerk in the grocery line, you always have opportunities to be promoting the kinds of things, the services, the collections, and that kind of thing. And with the toolkit that's been put together by ALA, the Advocacy Toolkit, or the Frontline Advocacy Toolkit, it gives a lot of ideas for how to do a lot of these things. So I just want to finish by saying that the saying yes to the community, it came out of the idea that a staff member in Carroll County, Maryland came up with. Her name's Jackie Solers, and I read about this in Library Administrator's Digest maybe 10 years ago. She was hearing her staff saying no to customers, and she decided, let's create these no logs. So every time anybody hears somebody saying no, they write it down on a piece of paper, and they put it in the back staff room. And then when they have their regular weekly or biweekly staff meetings, they talk about, is there a way I could have said yes? Could I have, maybe the answer is no, I had to say no, but maybe I could have said it in a way that was nicer or something like that. And let's try to get to yes and try to say yes to our customers. Thank you very much.